Before we get into the podcast today, I want to thank today's sponsors. First of which is the gallery. This year we're all looking for that perfect holiday gift, and today I want to tell you about the gallery. The gallery shop is a curated collection of photographs from around the world. All prints are made from 100% recycled aluminum, giving your wall that gallery finish. Right now for the holiday season, the gallery is exclusively offering our listeners 25% off your next purchase using the code Inebri-art. That's 25% off your next purchase at thegallery.com. That's the GALRY using the code Inebri-art, the gallery to create your perfect space. Second of all, our returning sponsor is the Pretentious Pickle. Hannah, do you know about the Pretentious Pickle?
Yes.
You didn't know I was going to bring you? Did I
No,
surprise you? Okay, so the Pretentious Pickle is a local shop down here on Water Street in Plymouth. They are located at 190 Water Street. And Hannah, you're just telling us that your sister's a huge fan.
She loves the Pretentious Pickle.
Yeah.
She's a big fan.
Nice.
I don't want to say number one, but she's up there.
Well, it's hard to be the number one fan. Like, they're super popular. They do like a weekly giveaway on their Facebook page.
Yeah.
And they get like thousands of people entering it. So if you're a fan of pickles, and it's not just cucumbers, it's all pickled vegetables and assorted local things, bakery items, farm to table type stuff. Make sure you check out their website, thepretentiouspickle.com. And you can find them at 190 Water Street, Plymouth, Mass. And tell Lorraine we sent you. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast, and I'm still recording from home. We are doing some in-person podcasting, but I kind of dig Zoom. I've become a fan, and I like being able to connect with people who aren't in the immediate area. And today we have brought on actress Jessica Morris. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Hi, guys.
So, Jessica, how, I think especially in the U.S., we have that farm girl goes to L.A. to become an actress kind of stereotype, fantasy or whatever. Is there truth to that? Was that was your experience? Like, how did you get into the acting business?
Yeah, I was so naive when I first came to LA. I was like 18, 19 years old, something like that. And I'm from Jacksonville. It's kind of a small town feel in Florida. Mm-hmm. And I just decided I was going to move out there and basically packed up all of my belongings, which was not that much at that point, into my car and drove cross country and was just kind of going to figure it out when I got here. I had one lead on a place to live because my cousin's best friend from high school lived out in LA. So she knew of someone who needed a roommate in her building. So basically I moved out and had a roommate. And I just kind of was very wide-eyed and very inexperienced. And but I loved it. I loved LA right away. And I just kind of threw myself into it. Got an agent right away, got new headshots, got in class, and, started dating someone in my building right away. He just snapped me up right away. I just really fell in love. It was a total experience, like you're talking about, just like a very naive young girl.
Do you think that kind of willingness to kind of leap before you look is part of a quality that's needed in an actor or actress? It seems like that's kind of, I hear a lot of people be like, yeah, I just, I either went to New York, I went to LA, that's where the acting jobs were, and they just kind of go without much of a plan or an idea. Is that a prerequisite to kind of live life that way?
I think so. I mean, I think, if I had never done that, then I wouldn't have a career, Mm-hmm. I think you have to, it's sort of a career that is not that stable and you're taking a lot of chances. So you have to just kind of go for it. I've had a lot of people ask me, seem really unsure when they wanted to get started in the business and like, what do I do? And asking a million questions. And I guess that's good too. But in a way, I'm kind of like, maybe you should just do it and just figure it out. That's what I did, you know?
Yeah.
And also, I think there's a quality about actors when you're working, even that, you know, it's very important to be in the moment, like in the moment of the scene. So if you're someone who kind of can be a little impulsive, I guess, and just very much be in the moment, I think that is just naturally a quality that helps with the work as well.
So not a lot of planners or actors?
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to do that, but I think that it is a characteristic that helps in the work.
Yeah. So you said it's an unstable work industry. How has the recent things affected you? I mean, are you working? Were you in the middle of working and got shut down? Like, what's going on out there?
Yeah, well, I shot a film in Chicago, and we had to adhere by strict COVID guidelines and everything. But things kind of started to open up out here too, slowly but surely. So yeah, I mean, there was a few months where I didn't work, but it's coming back now. And I'm also working on some writing assignments right now, so it's keeping me busy.
What is your kind of favorite thing to work in? Like, do you prefer like a TV, like a series kind of style? Whether, I hate saying TV now because I feel like everything I watch is either on Prime or Netflix or whatever, or more of like a 2-hour movie format.
I kind of think, I mean, I like both obviously, but, and I like, there's a little more stability in TV work if the show, is to continue on. But I really, really enjoy making movies because it's a little less, like TV can be fast paced. Mm-hmm. So movies, sometimes you can take a little more time with the scenes. It doesn't feel as rushed. And so that creative process is a little bit better. And I like there being like a beginning, middle, and end, and having like the whole thing be wrapped up, rather than keeping it open-ended with the TV show where you kind of know where your character's going, but maybe the writers don't even know yet. So you don't really know either.
So you kind of like having that end of your character act that you're working towards.
Right, exactly. Like knowing where the arc is going and knowing how to play that.
Now, most movies aren't shot in chronological order. Is it hard to kind of, like, how do you keep track of where your character is in that, whether it's emotional development or whatever? Like, how do you keep track of, like, where your character is?
That's actually really tough for me, but that's one of the hardest things about making a movie. And like, I'm not very good at that. I'm constantly like asking the director, like, okay, wait, what just happened? Where did I just come from? Yeah. Like, because sometimes I forget, and then I have to be like, oh, okay, I just had a meltdown. I'm right now. All right, let me get there. Give me a second. Or like, okay, no, I just got finished like having a great date, so I'm supposed to be like happy and okay. So like I constantly have to check, with like scripty and with the director and make sure, because it's really hard to keep track of for me.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of one of those things where, as a lay person, we tend to not think about that, how the film is shot, and it's not, even though we're watching it in a constant time, that it's more shot almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie where it just jumps all over the place.
Oh yeah, it's really crazy because it really doesn't have a flow. You just have to kind of jump into the moment that you're supposed to be in, and sometimes even like when you do your close up on certain shots, because of the way the angle is, you can't even look at the other actor. They'll have you like look, because the actor can't fit like in a car or something. So basically you're doing the scene towards someone. It could be this very intimate moment, and you're talking at like the side of the camera. Yeah. So
how do you have an intimate scene with a camera? Like, how do you kind of superimpose like a mental image of the actor, or like? Yeah,
usually it's like after doing like the wide shots, you already had the experience with the actor, so you just kind of, and they're usually close by, at least reading the lines, so you hear their voice, and then you just kind of have to imagine that their eyes are there, the eyes that you just saw in the moment that you guys just had. You just have to, I guess, recreate that / experience it in a new way while you're recreating seeing them.
Is there ever like a moment where either on the wide shot or the close-up where you're like, oh, I just wish I could get that energy or that feeling back, or oh, I wish I had this in the wide shot? Like, is there kind of that, grass is always greener kind of thing, like, oh, it's better in the other shot, I wish that was the close-up, or that kind of thing?
My best work is when it's the other person's close-up and it's on my back. Always that way. You
Yeah.
know, you're just like, what? Because it's like no matter how much you can kind of get in the moment and forget that the cameras are there, it's hard to sometimes completely forget because they're right in your face, you know?
Yeah.
So there's something about when you know the camera's not on you, there's a little part of you that maybe just relaxes it's just one iota more and allows you to sometimes do your best work when you know when people aren't watching you. But I have gotten better about that and about trying to. It's also tough because you have to, like, let's say it's an emotional scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they start with the wide shots, and you might have done it a bunch of times, but like if you know you need to, like, you know, break down into tears or something, you sort of have to be in that moment, but kind of hold back a little bit until you get to your close-up. You have to like manipulate your emotions because you know that by the time you get to your close-up, after we've done it like 20 times, that's exactly when the tear has to fall, right when the camera is right in your face. So you have to just hold on to that.
I feel like that would be exhausting. Like, how do you? I mean, I feel like that would be physically exhausting to like just juggle those emotions.
I love it, and when you nail it, and when you actually do exactly what you wanted to do and more, sometimes it's a sense of accomplishment, obviously, and it's very cathartic.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you're like, I didn't do any physical activity today. Why am I so exhausted? But the emotional exertion really does wear you out.
Do you ever have like, I don't know, acting hangover, if that's a thing, like where you had like either a day of filming an argument or a day of filming a really emotional scene where like for the rest of the day you're still angry? I mean, you don't really have any reason to be angry.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it affects, it's good to be aware of it because, you know, if you come home to like your partner or something and you don't realize that you're being really snippy or kind of, you know, acting a little depressed, sometimes that does happen because it's hard to completely shake off those feelings and that character. Sometimes I finish, you know, an emotional scene and I like, it takes me a minute to stop crying, you know, it just kind of opens up Pandora's box. And then I'm like, I'm just really sad, you know, because like, it's good that I got
that was really good.
But yeah, it does stick with you for a moment if you get to a real place.
Do you have a way to kind of help combat that? Is there like music that you listen to on the way home, or do you prefer to hit the gym afterwards, kind of like, you know, refresh and revitalize? Like how do you try to fix that?
I mean, usually a glass of wine and a bath are good for me.
Nice. I like that. So you were talking about, you know, moving out to LA and getting the headshots done and things like that. Did you jump into acting classes? Was that part of?
Yes, that was like, I knew that was sort of my little bit of a plan that I had. Get headshots, get into the class, get an agent. So in that order, that's kind of how I did it.
And what was getting an agent like? I mean, did you have any credits under your belt when you went to your agent, or did you just walk and be like, I'm going to be an actress?
Yeah, not at all. I only had done like high school plays.
Mm-hmm.
I did background in one movie in Florida, but I basically just like added some fake credits onto my resume. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, when people are worried about that, I'm like, why? You really think this agent has enough time to sit there and research if you really did play Stacy in some random film that she's never heard of?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I just put a few credits. I mean, I told the agent when I finally got a meeting with, I sent about maybe 20 headshots out. This was back in the day, you know, before things were all virtual. So I like sent out like hard, you know, copies of the resume and headshots. And one of the women agents called me in, and she could tell I was inexperienced. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I'm ready. Just throw me out there. Throw me in. Give me in every opportunity you can. I'm ready to jump in there. And she did. So, and I was with her for many years, and she was, you know, a very important person in my life that helped me a lot.
What do you think was it that got you that connection with that particular agent? Was it just a personality like gelled, or that she saw something in you, or like what was? Yeah,
I think she liked how untainted I was at the time. I think she liked how innocent and wide-eyed and inexperienced I was, and I was very sweet and like, and just untainted is the word I can think of. Like just.
And now you're cruel and jaded.
Yeah, I was very wholesome and sweet back then. Now I'm a bitter bitch. Yeah.
So, but I mean, looking back, would you have done anything differently, or are you pretty happy with the way it progressed? And
I mean, both, really. I mean, I would have done a lot of things differently if I could have, but then at the same time, you know, I am where I am today because of the things that I did, good and bad, along the way. And, you know, if I had done things differently, maybe I'd be somewhere, you know, I'd be more successful, but you can't really, I guess, look at life that way, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess every mistake I've made has taught me something and, you know, built my character. So yeah, there's things I would do differently, but I can't really do that. So there's no point in looking back.
I think that's a healthy way of thinking of it. So now that we're in COVID and lockdown and whatnot, have you auditioned for parts? Have they been doing that virtually? Like, what has been the major changes in the entertainment world since all of this went down?
Well, self-taping had become pretty big over the past few years anyway, but there were still a lot of in-person auditions. Now, there's hardly a very, very small percentage. Maybe you go in for like a final callback on something, but I've had just a ton of taped auditions.
So you just use like your cell phone and tape yourself?
Exactly. Like I have a little setup that I got some equipment on Amazon where I have like, you know, some side lights and a ring light. And I've got, you know, the ring light, you can put your phone, you know, in the stand basically. Yeah. So it's shot with my iPhone, but the lighting makes, and I have the backdrop screen, the different color backdrops. So yeah, I just like have a friend come over and we tape it.
So you're kind of learning minor production type things yourself, just to.
It's kind of fun. I'm like, oh, I feel so professional with all this equipment and everything.
Do you think the ring lights and the backdrop and stuff do you think that's more important than actually hitting the part? Like, I don't know how I'm just trying to phrase this, but like, can you?
I see what you're saying.
Can you dress it up with all the lights and glitter and stuff to make your auditions seem better?
I think if you have all the equipment and your audition sucks, then no. But I think also if you're a fantastic actor, but you're not giving a professional tape and you don't have good lighting and you don't have a good setup, you're not going to get in the door either, because they're not going to look past that. They're going to start playing the tape and they're not going to be able to, most likely they're not going to be able to look past it because it's going to seem unprofessional. So you do need to have that just to make a good first impression, but then you have to follow up with a good performance, obviously.
So it shows a level of commitment that, you know, I'm willing to put the time in to make my audition look this good, let alone your film.
I think it's the commitment factor, and also just knowing the professional standards, being aware of that, having that knowledge. And also, I think that if you don't have like a solid backdrop and you can barely hear, or it's too shadowy and you can't see your face, or there's stuff in the background, it could be distracting. And so I think that that's the other reason why they want it that way, because if they're watching you perform and there's all these other distractions, you know, that they're thinking about, then it's harder for them to focus on the audition.
Yeah, your cat walks by, they'll be like, "Ooh, kitty."
Yeah.
So you said you were writing. Like, what's your experience with writing? Is that something new that you just decided to give it a try, or something you always wanted to do?
I've always been, you know, a decent writer, and I've always enjoyed doing it. And people have been telling me to do it for years, but I finally, like a few years ago, actually started writing scripts. And, you know, at first I just kind of did it for fun and learned a lot. And then, you know, I sold a couple scripts, but they didn't end up getting produced.
Yeah.
And right now I'm working on 2 that seems as though they're going to be they are greenlit and will be shooting in Taiwan for a couple months, like this end of this year. So coming up pretty soon. So right now I'll be acting in them, and I'm also writing them with a writing partner. When you write a script, do you kind of write a script intentionally for yourself, or is that just kind of how the chips fell? Yeah, I mean, even though I like writing as a passion, my acting is my first passion. So if I'm going to write a script, I'm not writing without the idea of myself being in it. And what genre do you like to write? Is it thrillers, horror, sci-fi? I like writing thrillers. I did write one comedy, but and that was a lot of fun. But I think I like writing thrillers because they come so easily to me. It's very second nature. I've been in so many of those types of movies, and I've read so many scripts that are exactly like that, especially the TV movies, which is what these Taiwanese ones are. And because I'm so familiar with reading them, it just seems like it's second nature for me to fall into that format and to know what needs to happen.
So are you like a big true crime type podcast listener, or like I can't remember what channel has like all the serial killer type shows, but is that kind of something that you...
Yeah, I mean, they are really interesting, but it does kind of creep me out a little bit, I gotta be honest.
So do you write things that would creep you out? Like, I'm trying to figure out like where you get your inspiration for your...
Like, I know what you're saying. I mean, it doesn't creep me out, I guess, when I'm writing it, because I know it's not real, but I watch enough of those things where I know that in real life things like that do happen. Mm-hmm. But when I know it's real, it's very disturbing.
So would you ever write a script kind of interpreting real life events? Or would you Yeah, I think that could be really, really interesting. And it probably would creep me out as I was writing it, but I would still enjoy doing it. Yeah. So you don't mind being creeped out?
No, I mean, it creeps me out. Like, that's not something that I run away from.
No. Now, you mentioned that you had sold a script, but it never got produced. Like, how does that work? Like, is it just in limbo now? Do you eventually have the ability to resell that script? How's the selling a script process work? So
I'm sure it's, different for different companies and different people, but in my experience, it was just basically that they gave me the money to do the script. Mm-hmm. And then the producers, I guess, didn't get the full funding or the go ahead to shoot the movie, So in that situation, maybe it'll happen at some point when it's the right timing or when they get all the funding to shoot the movie. You would think if they already, paid the writer that they wouldn't want to make it a priority to actually shoot the movie.
Right. Yeah.
But they don't always have control over their, investors and whether or not they get their money.
So it's just something kind of like lost in limbo now.
Yeah, kind of. And then since they pay you for it, you kind of lose the rights to it, And it's like, unless you have another outlet where someone's like, yes, 100%, I'm going to give you the money to shoot this. There's no reason why I would want to really, fight that anyway.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like, I've always kind of heard stories like early Superman treatments, and there's a Terry Gilliam movie, the man who killed Don Quixote, that was like in production hell. So you always hear these stories, and I always kind of wonder, like, how does it happen that someone writes a script or buys a script and then the movie just stalls and mm-hmm. just never happens. Do you ever get to a point where you're like cast in a film and it never gets made, or like it gets shot and never released, or that kind of thing?
Yes, that's happened. Both of those things have happened. I think most companies will wait to cast until they have the full funding for the movie, which is the nice thing to do. Mm-hmm. Some independent, productions, they will go ahead and cast the movie in hopes sometimes that if they attach, certain names to the project, that it will help to get them the funding for the movie. And then a lot of times they do that, and then they never actually get the full funding, so the movie never actually happens. And as far as shooting and it never being released, that happens too. I'm still waiting on the Onania Club by Tom Six to come out. We shot that a while ago, and he's just waiting, I think, to find what he thinks is the perfect outlet and the perfect way to distribute it. So we're just kind of in limbo on that, waiting for that to come out.
Nowadays, I mean, it's so, especially during COVID, it's been such a weird time. I think it's really opened up all the possibilities to get movies out there. I mean, some are still going to the theaters, some are getting released to, like Disney Plus, and mm-hmm. then like Mulan got released to Disney Plus, but you got to pay $30 on top of your regular membership. Do you think that all these different venues are a good thing that's going to get more content out there and give actors more work?
I hope so. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be a good thing for everybody. Absolutely.
Do you think there's like a oversaturation point where it's going to just be like, I can't keep track of everything? Like, I know there's a new one, Quibi, out that I only recently heard about because they had a Reno 911 show.
Quibi was interested in one of my scripts for a while, but then they ended up having too many shows like it, so they passed. But Quibi, it does seem like a great way. You know, it's very modern day way to watch something. But I don't know. I haven't really seen a ton of the content on there, so I'm not sure.
Is it short format, or am I just misunderstanding?
Yeah, it's like 10-minute episodes.
Do you think that would be more challenging? I feel like that'd be really tough to write. Like, how do you write a story arc in 10 minutes? I feel like that'd be very tricky.
Yeah, it kind of is, but I mean, it was definitely different for me. I'd never done something like that. You just have to, basically I wrote out like what would happen in like one season. And then I broke it down into like small little chunks where there was kind of a cliffhanger after each like 10 pages.
So if someone wanted to get into acting and or writing, do you feel being involved in both helps you in both? Like, you understand actors and you understand writers better?
I think writing has definitely helped me as an actor. You know,
Excuse me,
before I was started writing, you know, I would, you know, you would read the role, you know, that you're auditioning for, and even if you get the whole script, I think you're just so focused on the role that you're playing and you want to, you know, play that character as, you know, deep and as interesting or as funny or as whatever as you can. But I think once you're a writer, you kind of understand the big picture a little bit better, and how your character facilitates the story, and how you don't necessarily need to make this big choice or do this, because your part is just to like make sure that the lead character gets where they need to go, you know, or if you are the lead character, you understand that it's okay to not be likable in this scene because you're not supposed to be, you know. That's the whole point of the story.
Do you feel I mean, like I said, most of what I know about Hollywood I've learned from the internet and, you know, weird news stories, but you always hear like these writers and people's contracts were like, oh, Bruce Willis isn't allowed to lose a fight in a movie, or you know, and then they get cast in another movie and it's a big issue because so and so can't lose a fight in a movie either.
That's
Do you
funny.
think that kind of hurts them? Because I mean, I really enjoy Bruce Willis movies up to a certain extent, and then I feel like they almost become very cookie cutter. And I like that you said that it's okay to be unlikable in a movie, because I think, you know, you shouldn't always play the same character. And I feel like some of these huge celebrities kind of get to the point where you're like, oh yeah, it's Bruce Willis being Bruce Willis being Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to answer that, because like I'm not a huge celebrity, and if so maybe I have it wrong. Like whatever I think maybe is wrong, because you know, like I would like to have someone's career where they're making a ton of money on, you know, one movie. So, and I think people do find their niche, and they become very successful from that specific thing that they play. And I think that is smart in a way. But I think what I enjoy is playing different kind of characters. So I wouldn't want to play only the good guy or only the guy that wins the fights all the time. But that's just me, and maybe I'm dumb for being that way. But yeah, I have seen that. I mean, I've seen actresses that are like, I'm not going to play the bad one. I'm not going to play someone who's mean, you know? I'm like, those are the most fun roles. What do you mean?
Hell,
you know?
yeah. I feel like I'd want to be the bad guy.
But some people, they have that image and they want to stick to it, and they're doing well with it. They're making a lot of money off of that image. So I get it.
Do you try to cultivate an image like that, or are you just kind of, because see, some of my favorite some of my favorite actors are like I love John Leguizamo. I think what he does is amazing, and it's just, every role is completely different. Julie, I don't know why I can't speak today. Giovanni Ribisi, I think, is another one. Like, everything he does is so different from another role. And
Kate Blanchett is like very chameleon-like.
Yeah, that's another good example. So do you kind of like try to be like that character actor that, you know, I can be a evil wizard, and then I can be the heartthrob, and I can jump all over the place?
I would love to do that. I don't know if if I will, do that. I mean, I feel like I've played slightly different characters, but let's say with the Lifetime movies that I've done, a lot of those over the past couple of years, I do always get cast as like the victim, like the lead woman who's like trying to get her life together, and she's got problems and she's getting stalked. And so I myself end up getting cast as sort of the same character, but I want to play like something different, So I would love the opportunity to try to play different kind of roles and to transform myself a little bit more.
Do you think part of that is because like, the executives or whatnot are like, we know she can do this role, so we're going to cast her in this type of role?
Right. No, that's exactly it. They don't want to take too much of a risk. And, so they see, okay, I mean, if I were casting, I would do the same thing and be like, okay, she's good at that kind of role. That's what she does,
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you're marketable too, like I might want to play this, super badass, like tough chick, but in reality, when I get in front of a camera, the way my demeanor, the way I look, my emotional life maybe just lends itself better to, playing the victim.
And would you ever like have to consider, say you were going to get like cast in like a Quentin Tarantino, something like really edgy? Would you ever worry that maybe Lifetime wouldn't want you in their movies anymore?
I don't really worry about things like that. No, I don't. Again, maybe I should, but I don't. I take the opportunities that I want, and life's short. I'm not gonna not take an experience just because someone might not approve. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of that jumping in your car, packing up, and just going kind of.
Exactly.
And I suppose maybe a Quentin Tarantino movie is not the best thing, because I feel like that'd be a huge movie to get for anybody.
Yeah.
Is there any particular directors that you would like are on your bucket list, like absolutely love to work with?
I mean, all the top ones would be great. I can't think of one particularly offhand that I'm like fanatical about or anything, but yeah, a lot of them.
Or is there there's got to be like a co-star or a project? Like what's the dream gig?
Yeah, I don't really I don't have a specific idea in my mind. I guess I'm just open to whatever possibilities come up, So
you like it's more you would just like to try different things to kind
of. Exactly.
So you're working on this film in Taiwan. You said it's a thriller. Is it going to be, do you know what platform it's going to be released on, or?
It'll probably be for Lifetime.
And why Taiwan? Is that?
One of the producers lives over there, and also they got investors from there. So we're kind of like show off the town, use some Taiwanese actors, and go that route.
Is there a lot of consideration? Because I know like a lot of things are filmed in, is it Toronto or Vancouver?
Oh yeah, lots.
Because of like money reasons. So when you're, I don't suppose it would be that early when you're writing. Are you thinking about like where it would be filmed?
I don't really. I kind of, I write just, if I don't know where we're going to shoot it, then I just write whatever's in my imagination. Mm-hmm. But then once you get closer and like a producer's telling you, okay, like at first these treatments that we wrote for these Taiwanese projects, they were supposed to be shot somewhere in Australia. So I had written them specifically for Australia, and then I just had to go back in and just change the locations.
And were you just kind of like, okay, that's just part of the business, or did you try to kind of like fight to?
No, I didn't fight it. It's a little annoying. You're like, oh, extra work. No, but it's like, it's fine. It's kind of fun to like research the place and, be able to change. Oh, okay. So right now they were going to go do a fun ziplining activity here in this forest, but now they're going to do a fun bungee jump off of this tall building in Taipei, so it's fun to kind of research the area and see what kind of cool stuff you can add in.
Were you kind of like, this is something I would like to try, so I'm going to write it in so I get to bungee jump off of this building?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, except for like the one project, I'm writing a bunch of fun stuff in, but the character I'm playing doesn't actually get to do them. But I'm hoping the day that I'm there, they'll like buy me a ticket too.
I suppose that's the fun part of like writing your own scripts. You can kind of be like, well, I've never been to Brazil before.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you were acting in high school plays and stuff, did you know you wanted to go in this direction already, or? like what was the keystone that made you kind of head to be a professional actress?
Well, I mean, it was the only thing I really enjoyed as a young kid. I mean, I grew up dancing on stage and everything, but I was very shy. And then when I started doing plays, my family and friends and peers and everything, they were so shocked to see the sort of confident, attitude I had on the stage playing a different character. And I was kind of shocked too that I felt so at home and comfortable there, because I had never experienced that before. So I knew I loved it, like all through school up until high school. I didn't really know I wanted to do it professionally until when I was 16. I went to work with a modeling agency in Tokyo, and I kind of hated modeling, but I did a commercial while I was there, and just worked with this Japanese comedian guy in the commercial, and just had such a blast and felt like I was in my element. So I came back and I was like, okay, yep, that's what I want to do with my life. I decided.
It's weird because I've talked to several actors, and I've heard stories of others that are very shy and reserved, and then on stage, what is it about being on stage that kind of either makes you come out of your shell or makes you feel so comfortable?
Maybe it's that you feel safe behind having the lines and sort of behind this veil of pretending to be someone else. It just makes you feel safe. And also, I think if you're shy and so maybe you don't express yourself as much on a daily basis to people, like you're not like a, chatty Cathy where you're just telling everyone your whole life story every second. So you might have a little pent up need to express yourself. So when you're given the opportunity in a way that you feel comfortable, it's really nice way to be able to kind of let out some of the energy that's kind of pent up that you haven't been able to let out. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I was very similar as a kid. I was very, very shy, and most people I know now don't believe it, but it's weird because I acted in plays in junior high and high school and performed in band. I always felt, it was weird. Like on stage, the lights are down. I can't see the audience. So it was almost like they weren't there.
Yeah.
So I never I never really thought about it. And it's like when
they're there when it's dark out there.
What's that? Sorry.
I agree. You kind of forget that they're there because it's so dark.
Yeah, because you're trying to remember your notes or your lines, and you're supposed to move here, and you're supposed to, yell at this person and not yell at that person, which I've screwed up multiple times.
Oh no.
But it just becomes like I don't know. It's a weird. They talk about the fourth wall. To me, it was kind of always it was a wall because I couldn't see it. Might as well not be there. But then if it got to be like a one-on-one conversation with people, I'd just freeze up because you're just staring at me.
Exactly.
Do you...
You're just staring at me.
Because they are. I mean, they're just...
Your eyes just looking right in my eyes.
You're just so looking at me. I don't know what to say. Shut up. You're stupid. Yeah, that kind of thing. So do you kind of have that similar feeling when it's a camera? Because It's like just an object and it's not...
Yeah, somehow I can move, unless it's like right in my face during a close-up, when I get a little self-conscious sometimes. Usually I can somehow get really focused on the other actor that I'm in what we're trying to, discuss with each other and the energy of the scene that I sort of have a way to block out the whole crew, block out the camera, and I'm just in my own little bubble with the other actor.
And does that come on easier with the more that you do it, or has it something that's kind of always been there?
That's come on easier. Like my first job, I remember I kind of I was like, I don't remember how to walk, like I just got nervous.
Yeah.
But, I didn't know what to do with my hands, But so the longer I've done it, the more I realize that if you just can't think about that, you have to really, it helps you to really focus and be really intense with the person you're working with, because if you're doing that, then you shouldn't be even thinking about any of that other stuff.
So it's kind of like one of those, stop acting and kind of. I remember I was watching Clerks, and it had a director's commentary with Kevin Smith, which I really miss. I love that on DVDs with the commentaries. And he was kind of like talking throughout the movie, and there's one scene where his ex-girlfriend or something had sex with a dead guy in the bathroom, and so the cop is there taking down a report, and Kevin's just like, look at how fast she's writing. And I can't watch the scene now because that's all I focus on, and it's just one of those yeah, you could tell the girl was like, I have to be writing the entire time.
Oh my god, it's like so unnatural. Yeah.
How do you kind of fight those impulses, or be like, oh my god, what am I doing with my arm? That kind of thing.
Yeah, the more you can just actually, watching a movie or a TV show for the viewer, I feel like, because I am one a lot of times, I know that you can really escape in whatever you're watching, which is really nice. It's really, it just feels good to be able to like escape your life for a second and just get sucked into the story, right? Yeah. So with acting, it's the same thing. It's like the person who's going to end up watching it is getting sucked in, but when I'm doing it, I let myself get sucked in, to where it's like, if you do that, then you're not worrying about doing things naturally, because you just are doing things naturally because you're naturally in the scene, and you're just there. Like you're pretending like it's real, and you're experiencing it.
Do you ever kind of do the that method acting type of style where you're on set and you're like, you can only call me by Sarah or whatever?
No, I mean, but sometimes they will call you by your character name, and I'm fine with that, but I'm not crazy about it.
I was actually watching bloopers from Frasier the other day, and they were showing how they kept messing up names. Is that ever like a challenge to get the right names of the right people?
Not if it's like a character you're working with a lot, another character, but like sometimes if it's like a random, let's say, a random smaller character, and you have a lot of scenes that day. Sure. That's happened to me before, where it's like, why did Mr. Peterson? And they're like, cut. It's Mr. Patterson, and you're like, oh, sorry, But,
do you ever fall into those? I think we've all seen those bloopers where the person can't stop laughing or can't stop making the same mistake. Like, what is that like? And does that become like, oh my god, I'm costing, like every time I mess up, I'm costing them money? Does it like become too much pressure?
I try not to do it too much, and it depends on the set, because certain sets are a little more lax than others.
Yeah.
And it depends on, I guess, if you're running behind, then everyone's going to be really mad at you if you keep fucking up or just laughing. You know that you feel the energy on the set, and if everyone's really tired and it's been a long day and you're going over, you know that you mean business at that point. You better not start laughing or something. But if it's like things are running smoothly, it's a fun set. Sure, I've gotten the giggles before with the other actors. Sometimes, it is. You've been doing this for since really early in the morning, and I remember there's one scene where I had to tell the other character that someone had died. And it was just the way it was written so bluntly, like, he's dead. Like, I just, every time I looked in her eyes and told her he's dead, we just burst out laughing. It's not funny right now. Like, why are we laughing? Yeah.
Do you feel kind of like dark, like, where you work on thrillers and stuff like that and being stalked, and what do you feel that those giggles come out more in like a serious one because you're just trying to kind of like offset those?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just so dramatic that it's like you almost can't take it, so you just like you cover with like laughter. Yeah, like
a laugh in church, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just so awkward.
It's so inappropriate, but I can't help it. Yeah. That's awesome. So where can people go to check out what you're working on, Jessica?
Well, I usually, post everything on my Instagram, which is Jessica Morris 01, or Facebook, just under my name, Jessica Morris. I don't use Twitter as much, but I am on there at Jessica A. Morris. So I keep everyone updated whenever I have a film coming out or I'm shooting something. So that's where they can check it out.
Nice. And do you have anything out super recently that they can go check out like right now?
Yeah, Pool Boy Nightmare just came out on Lifetime, and they've been doing it premiered on Labor Day, but they've been doing other screenings of it, so you can check like your local listings for that. And I also have another one, The Wrong Fiance, that should be coming out soon, but I'm not sure on the air date for that one. It hasn't aired yet.
Does Lifetime have some sort of streaming platform, or do they work with someone? Do you know?
I think it's just on Lifetime.
Yeah.
Or on their
I was just
site.
wondering because sometimes they'll do deals with like Hulu, and you'll
I
see
know,
like,
like I did notice like Sling TV has that app,
yeah.
but I think you still have to have a cable. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's Jessica Morris. Thanks for talking to us so much. This was a lot of fun.
pleasure. Yeah, it was so fun.
And hopefully we'll see a lot more from you, and maybe we'll see you in like a superhero movie or
Yeah.
World War II Nazi movie or something cool.
Yes, I'm gonna play something super tough, and I'm gonna be a fighter chick.
Have you ever done any voiceovers? I know I was just signing off now. I'm like, well, I'm just curious.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
It's good work though.
Yeah, I've really gotten into watching. There's a streaming show called Critical Role, and it's all voice actors playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it's way more entertaining than it should be. But yeah, it has kind of like opened my eyes up to voice actors and like how hard they work, and because I was kind of always before like, oh, they're just saying the lines, it's not a big deal, and now I got mad respect for them.
Right. Yeah.
That was apropos of nothing. I just figured I'd throw it out there.
All right. Well, great meeting you. It was awesome chatting.
Awesome, and thanks to our listeners for listening. We'll see you guys again next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.